Ladies and gentlemen, now we move on to the Southern Titans, setting retail winning strategies. Certain geographies have often been identified closely with the spirit of enterprise in India. South India, in general, has contributed in throwing up some of India's foremost business leaders, a trend which continues even now. We bring you some of the popular names of the South who share their journey and success story. This is a panel discussion, so let me first invite our first panelist. He's the founder of N Dairy Farm. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Mr. C. Gopalakrishnan. May I now request the joint managing director of C. Krishna Shetty and Sons, Mr. Ganesh Narayan, to please come up on stage. Managing director of Sangeeta Mobiles, Mr. L. Subhash Chandra, please. The managing director of Soch, Mr. Manohar Chatlani, please. Partner, P.N. Rao, Mr. Naveen Pishe, please. The national head of buying and merchandising, Big Basket, Mr. Kumar, please. And to take over the session and to moderate from here, the moderator is Mr. S. Raghunandan. He is the CEO of Next Practice Retail.
Nice to be back here after a year. Same hotel, same venue. I think last year was the year we kicked off this forum for South Indian retail. We have some very, very eminent panelists here. They've been introduced. They really need no introduction. But before I actually ask them to share their insights about the topic that we're going to cover, I'm just going to lead in with a few thoughts and then they will take over from here. We're really focusing on disruption as the key to winning retail strategies. Couple of statements which I'm going to make just to provoke a discussion and thought more than anything else is either you disrupt or you die. That's the new normal now. And it's not just e-commerce which is changing the rules of the game. The customers are changing. The customers of tomorrow are very different from the customers as we know them now. How are we going to innovate? How are we going to be future ready for them is something I think we'd like to cover. You know, the beauty of this business is how there are fewer and fewer barriers to market entry now. And some great examples of how, in an international context, brands have changed status quo, and we lead on from there as to how each one of the panelists here is looking at changes and how dynamic the marketplace is getting. I mean, for example, these are some well-known case studies. Bonobos, they've completely changed the way clothing is retailed. They started as a pure play online. Now they have style stores or guide stores, and that's changing. Everlane, it's another great example. They pride themselves on what's called radical transparency. So this is a site where you can buy clothes online, which lists where the product is made, the cost of the product, their margins, and the final sale price to the customer. It's completely changed the business because everybody knows exactly how much margins you're making, whether your product is made in Turkey or China or Mexico or wherever else, everything is transparent. So radical transparency. This is a completely new way of looking at the business. Airbnb, they've, hotel business, hospitality business is not the same anymore since they've come and changed the rules of the game. Harry's, which is for shaving systems. You know, interestingly, this is one of the founders of Warby Parker, which is another good example who revolutionized how eyewear is retailed. They have now come, and one of the founders said, why can't we do the same thing to shaving that we did to eyewear? So they've taken somebody like Gillette head-on. They've actually gone in for a monthly subscription service. They're offering razor blades as good, if not better than Gillette's, at less than a fraction of Gillette's price. So they're changing the rules of the game completely. So this is how I think people are going to be very, very different. They're going to look at business differently. And before we actually get onto the panel, I have a short film that I'd like you to see, which is from Deloitte, all about retail disruption. So if we can have the film. It's just a 2.5 minute film.
retail is being disrupted as an industry. Conventional wisdom believes that there's this battle going on between brick and mortar retailers and online retailers. If you took the top 20 online retailers, you'd find roughly 17 or 18 of them are actually brick and mortar retailers, which makes you go, well, how can it be a brick and mortar versus online retail battle if the majority of the top 20 online retailers are actually brick and mortar retailers? What we're seeing is increased competition from all different sources. Digital is enabling the reduction of barriers to entry, which has caused an onslaught of new competitors into the marketplace. We call it death by 1,000 paper cuts. There's really this dramatic increase in the volatility of market share, meaning market share is being taken and given at a much faster rate than we've ever seen previously. There are so many competitive options now, that is what enables and empowers the consumer. But when they have thousands of options, they now have much more power to choose. We're now rapidly approaching a place where digital is just fundamental to retail. It's not separate, it's not a channel, it's not small, it's not measured distinctly, but fundamentally it is fully integrated, influential, empowered in the overall retail model.
The retailers have to rethink their overall strategies. They've got to redefine what they're thinking about in terms of how do they win with digital. I think retailers will win on the basis of being able to connect with the consumer and really owning that and having a differentiated experience and product. They'll also win on the ability to have a logistics network that gets you the product quickly, because that's the expectation of the consumer.
A lot of times when we talk with retailers, we talk about harness the power of digital, or how to leverage digital throughout the entire shopping journey. So inspiring the customer, making it easier for her to shop, finding ways to just really interact with the customer, whether before their shopping trip, it's during their shopping trip, or really connecting with them after their shopping trip. What we're starting to see is this trend of retailers that are introducing digital to infuse it as part of the in-store experience, to engage with the customer, which also enhances their overall brand.
We in Deloitte Digital can do so much because we're able to deal with all the issues that retailers have from start to finish.
Says we've got people that are deep in retail, we've got people that are deep in digital, people that are deep in user interface design. We forge those together onto teams where we help and we serve our clients, really advance the entire business model. And that's the key, that's the difference, that's the power and the magic that we've been able to bring to the market, is this idea that digital isn't technical, digital is business.
Yeah, so that's the one thought I think that should stay in everybody's mind. Digital is business. It's not technology, technical, it's all those things. It has to be a vital, integrated part of your business. So now I'm going to open it out to the panel, and we can just go through so that quick comment from everybody on this whole issue of disruption, innovation, digital. So if we can start with you.
Good afternoon. Digital destruction is definitely, if your products are not going to be, customers' needs are met, then your service is not there. Digital is not going to help. So the main thing is, are you having a delighted customer? And then your digital is going to help. I mean, the concept of digital is definitely going to take over, but it's going to take time. But the difference what we are going to see is the delivery, the logistics, and the customer satisfaction. And that is definitely going, I'm talking on to the food retailing business, because the rest of it, yes, there is definitely a big way digital is going to help. And when it comes to the food retailing, the customer's delight is very important. And it's happening, it's going to take a long time. The reason being, we have 12 million retail outlets, unorganized ones, and they need to have some kind of an app which will have the delivery logistics done better. So that is going to be the real challenge. And once that is done, yes, digital will become a business here also.
Yeah, Ganesh.
Good afternoon. Firstly, retail today in India is about $600 billion, which is going to grow to about $1 trillion in the next 4 years, out of which 98% of the industry is unorganized. To me, disruption must start from the grassroots level, especially the context of Indian retail. So it's basically, uprooting and changing the way we think, the way we behave, and the way we do business. And this will enable displacement of market, industry, technology, and it will produce something new that is going to create something worthwhile and efficient. When we talk about disruption in retail, the one category of customers that I believe which is going to make us disrupt faster is the millennials. The millennial customer today is an extremely choosy customer. Why? Because they are extremely researched. They spend a lot of time reading. They spend a lot of time becoming aware of products. They have, digital data readily available on their mobile phones through mobile technology, and their expectations are far higher than the existing generation. So what retailers really need to do is actually curate personalized experiences for millennials. What is also going to happen, which is already happening globally, like Raghu just mentioned earlier, about this brand called Bonobos. I actually discovered Bonobos as a customer, and the experience is 360 degrees. It was an online channel which had products which are perfectly fitting. If you have had long hands, long legs, you would find perfect fitting clothes. But there's always that doubt in the mind whether you will get the right product by buying online. So what the founder of that company, Andy Dunn, did was realize that there is a bigger customer who's also interested in shopping offline. And he went about, creating something called a guide shop, where customers actually walked in and bought online, tried out and explored and discovered all the products, finally bought online because there was no extra stock to cater to the customer's requirement. And within a few days, the product was delivered to the store, to the customer's house. The third thing today in disruption, what is happening is the cost of marketing a product. Traditional marketing obviously needed deeper pockets to invest into advertising and other forms of marketing. But today, with the advent of social media, with influencers on social media, younger brands are able to penetrate faster and create traction faster and actually start creating some relevance in the marketplace. The one business that comes to mind is, similar to what Raghu mentioned, called Harry's, right?
Yeah, Harry's.
Harry's is the Dollar Shave Club. It is such an innovative concept where the Dollar Shave Club enables you to subscribe to razor blades, and every month they will send you a razor blade for a single $1. And how did they market their product is only creating digital ads and videos. And one of their videos, which went viral on YouTube, had more than 20 to 30,000 subscribers in such a short period of time. And immediately people started subscribing to it and started getting their credit card details online. And before they realized, the brand was already bought over by Unilever close to $1 billion was the valuation that they got. So digital disruption and disruption in all forms is happening so fast that today brands really need to wake up and start investing in good technology, good design, good data analytics, and then that's how business is bound to grow by multifolds going forward.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. I am Subhash Chandra from Sangeeta. Okay, disruption, as far as Sangeeta is concerned, we have traveled the journey of disruption already, quite a bit. We started with gramophone records, and they were disrupted by audio cassettes. And audio cassettes, as Mr. Biju Kurian was mentioning in the morning, whether it was audio cassettes or gramophone records, music as an entertainment was a family subject. He mentioned in the morning, once with the advent of Walkman, it became a personal instrument. So that was a small disruption again in the music space. So we moved from records to cassettes. Then came televisions in 1981. We started selling televisions. So then came computers in mid-80s. Sangeeta was one of the foremost retailers in the country. In fact, the first retailer in the country to sell computers. Mid-90s, 94, 95, pagers happened. Most of the today's generation don't even know what a pager is. So I'm fortunate to have sold almost 400 pagers a month, sitting out of one store, Sangeeta, JC Road. So Sangeeta's journey, unlike a few of my friends sitting on the panel here, P.N. Rao or Krishna Chetty or Nilgiris, I have had the fortune or misfortune, I would like to call it as fortune, that I have seen enough disruptions already. And from pagers, we have moved to mobiles. And when we added mobile in 1997, I was selling audio systems, I was selling refrigerators, washing machines, pagers, televisions, and also selling mobile phones. But from there to now, in fact, within a couple of years, I started feeling, why the hell are we selling televisions and all that, occupying so much space, huge investment, very little margins, mobile is a happening thing. So it took almost 2 years for me to convince my family that we should pack up all these things and get into only mobile. That was way back in 99, 2000. And again, it was a gigantic effort to convince the family to expand. They said, why do you need to expand? But then I had to convince them. 2002, we opened our second store. From 1974 to 2002, we had just one store. So 2002 to now, we have more than 300 stores. And all are company-owned stores. Now, yes, there is disruption. All this has happened. As a retailer, the product category that I dealt with, or the, something was getting phased out and something else was happening. Mm-hmm. I traveled that wave or journey of disruption. But today, we are talking about customers' psyche, customers' buying pattern. The disruption with regards to not necessarily the product category. Products, yes, disruption will keep happening, like you talked about the blade or whatever. But we are talking about the customer buying behavior. I don't know how future would be, but all said and done, I strongly believe there would, in spite of the fact that e-commerce would increase its share of the overall pie, the brick and mortar, especially brand loyalists, are here to stay. Having said that, I as a retailer, Sangeeta, can't take shelter and not get into e-commerce. So Sangeeta is also investing and trying its best to get into e-commerce in a proper way. So I think for the first round, I leave it there.
Well, a couple of interesting things. One, Subhash was telling us earlier, for those who are talking about expansion and strategy, he already has 90 stores in Bangalore.
300 plus stores. 90 in Bangalore.
90 in Bangalore. And he said there's room for another 90. So
in Bangalore, we have 90 stores, yeah. You're right, Raghu.
Yeah.
Okay. When we talk about disruption, I think the first thing which comes to everyone's mind is e-commerce. E-commerce has shaken a lot of people with their discounting. Luckily, we are in a segment where e-commerce is not so dominant. When somebody wants to buy a sari or a salwar kameez, she definitely wants to try it on. In a salwar kameez, there's some alteration to be done. E-commerce is doing pretty poorly in saris. We are also in the e-commerce. You can't avoid. You have to be there. And our 2% of our sales is e-commerce. But out of that 2%, it's predominantly kurtis, and kurtis also offer lower value. So I think where e-commerce is dominating and doing well is where they're giving huge discounts and lower price points. The other disruption for the retail industry is the huge rental cost increase, and the fact that previously if you had a shop, you were there for life. There was no such thing as lease. You have this Rent Control Act, which you're there. Nobody can throw you out. Today, every 3 years, 6 years, every 3 years you have a rental increase. Every 9 years your lease is over, and if you're doing well, if the mall is doing well, your rent may go up by 20, 30, 40%. That is a huge disruption. And there are lots of areas in Bangalore and everywhere where the demand is so high in those areas that the rents are really unrealistic. This, I think, is one of the major disruptions to the retail industry.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Naveen Pishe. I'm from P.N. Rao. But, I share the story of what happened to, Subhash Chandra. I completely share that with him. Sorry, Subhash. I think disruption is a reality today. There's no doubt about it. But, as the word itself is, disruption is temporary. We got to be, as retailers, prepared for disruption. So at P.N. Rao, what we are focusing on is we're trying to be technology ready for any disruption that may happen in the future. So invest in good ERPs and stuff like that. We're trying to be technology ready in understanding, customer analytics, picking up data from the customers, giving tabs. We're starting a new thing of giving tabs to our staff, bringing down data, taking down collection of data, monitoring it, analyzing it well. I think if we are able to focus on innovation and continuously innovate without stopping, I think we'll be able to handle disruption or any kind of disruption that happens, whether it's e-commerce or high rentals, like Manu was saying. We'll be able to take care of all of this. The other thing, what we have noticed, over a period of time is even, for example, demonetization itself is a disruption that we're facing. 3 months of business being slow, people are actually shutting shops. They're giving up on themselves. I think we shouldn't give up on ourselves. Most brands over here have got a very strong strategy. If you continue to have a strong strategy, and if you're able to keep your cash flow and have financial discipline, which I think is a huge thing what my family taught us all about. If you're able to create these kind of disciplines, 2-3 months or even 6 months of bad business, we're able to override. And as long there are some permanent disruptions that take place, which again, these values and integrities which your family or your business is built upon, they will help you ride these disruptions. So I think, focusing on this technology, constant innovation, fiscal discipline will help us override disruption in the long term.
Okay, it's interesting because it's different thoughts, but what's also interesting is we started with Gopal, one of the most respected and one of the oldest names in food and grocery, right down to Big Basket, which is, in a relative sense, the new player on the block in food and grocery, now has made a name for itself. So I just want Ishu to sort of highlight to us, we were discussing before coming in that e-commerce, traditionally, a lot of people dismiss it as discount-driven, and it's all about giving away money and deals and so on. I think there's a lot more to e-commerce in terms of whether it's strategy, it's innovation, delivery. So how are they looking at it from not necessarily a disruption, but even an innovation perspective, how Big Basket is looking at it? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had the benefit of hearing to each of them, and their stories, okay, before I could tell. So, what I was thinking was that, there is a process. Disruption itself is a process, and there is a way by which, someone can think through. I don't know whether I can do it again and, or anybody can do it again and again, but, there is a way by which you can think through so that, you can figure out as to where the disruption is going to happen. And then, build your strategies on the basis of that. So I'm just looking at it from the point of view of a grocery customer. Okay, if a customer who buys groceries for their family on a monthly basis. So what are the different pain points they have? So one of the first pain points is in a city like Bangalore is that, going to the shop itself. Okay, because the traffic is heavy, there is no parking available. So, yesterday night I came to my home and my son had asked for something. So I felt very irritated that I have to again go out. Okay, because by that time my driver also has gone. Okay, so that is the first pain point which the customer has. Should I go to the store at all? Okay, and how do I manage this traffic and go to the store? Okay. Then the second one was, okay, when I go to the store, how do I know that I am getting the right products at the right price? Okay, or how do I know that I am getting the right quality? Then how do I search for the products after going to the store? So if there are, if I have my list as typical grocery customer has about 30 products in the list. And it's not easy to get the store staff to always tell you as to which product is where. And if you are going for the store for the first, second, third time, it's very difficult for you to make out as to where each product is. Then after doing the entire shopping, and you have come to the cash till, standing in the line, that is one pain point. But the more important thing is, you have completed the shopping and you have come out, and you have suddenly realized that I have forgotten one item. How do you get that back? So these are all the pain points which the customer faces. Now look at it, for each of them, there can be a disruption. Okay. The disruption can be solving one of the problems, the disruption can be solving all the problems together. So the more the problems you are able to solve, the bigger will be the size of the pie for you as a retailer. So, if you are able to systematically think through in terms of what is the pain point of the customer, which I am trying to address. Okay. So recently there was this Amazon Go store which opened in US, and most of us would have seen that video, which was through either WhatsApp or emails we have got. And basically, what is it trying to address? So the first thing it is trying to address is you don't need to go to a cash till. Okay, so you don't need to go to the cash till. Wherever you are picking up the product, it is automatically billed to you, and it is actually it takes it from your wallet or from the different payment option available. So basically, the entire pain point of going to the cash till is gone. The second thing which it is actually trying to do is to provide a far larger range in a small area. So they have walls on which you have one product each, and then the moment the product gets sold, it gets replenished. And so because of which, the space which you have to walk through is not very high. So imagine when you are a customer and when you go to a large store, and for each product you have to go to a different section. It's so painful. So here in 1800 square feet of space, they have about 10,000 SKUs. Okay, so that is the second benefit which they are offering. So basically, they have thought through maybe two benefits, and maybe there are some more, which is one is the pain of actually going through the cash till, and the pain of actually going through a large store to pick up different items from different parts of the store. So here, basically, they have provided a large range in a small area, and they have removed the concept of cash till altogether. Okay, so whichever products which you buy on the fly and you don't need to stock, there it is actually a huge advantage, because you don't want to, go to a store and wait in a cash till to buy a soft drink or to buy a chocolate. Okay, so this is what they have solved. So similarly, if you start looking at for each of these points, for example, when I go to a store, I have to search which product is where. So how do I avoid it? So one way could be a map, which is displayed at the beginning of the store. Second way is actually show the large variety of products in a very small area, and the customer just picks up one piece and they get replenished. Okay. So there are multiple solutions for that. But first, if you look at the challenge which the customer is facing, or the pain point which the customer is facing, and then we try to address it, I think that is disruption. Okay. So recently, I have come across another one where an Indian company was trying to actually disrupt, which is basically, see, customers after doing the entire shopping, they realize that they have forgotten one item. How do you ensure that you don't forget any item, particularly in groceries, where you have a list of about 30 SKUs? So what they have put is they have given you a handheld, okay, which can be in the form of a wristband, okay, or it can be something which is kept on a fridge and it's kept in a bedroom and is kept in a bathroom and so on, where every time an item is going to get stocked out, just click on it. So yeah, the handheld screen has about 10 SKUs. So total, if you have one, for the fridge, which has about 10 or 20 items, and then one for the wardrobe, which has another 20 items, and one for the bathroom, which has about 5 or 6 items, and one for the kitchen utility, which has another 10 items. Every time that the item is going to get stocked out, you just click on it. Okay. At the end of the day, if the number of items crosses a certain level, which are going to get stocked out, whether it crosses certain level in terms of value, or it crosses certain level in terms of quantity, it can actually automatically order, and the product will reach you tomorrow. Okay, so this can be a disruption. Okay, I don't know when it will happen, but basically that solves that problem of remembering the items as and when they get stocked out and ordering for all of them together. So basically, I think that there is a way by which people process or people think, due to which you will be able to create disruptions.
Okay, fine. So that's an interesting way of looking at it, different perspective. I just have 2 or 3 broad areas that I want to sort of throw to the panel, in no particular sequence. Anyone can address them. Taking off from what he told me about, what he said about identifying pain points, I just want the panel to focus on 3 key topics. One, what are they doing in their own business about enhancing customer experience, the whole shopping experience? What are they doing, whether it's digital, whether it's online, offline, whatever. That's one. Second is, who in your business is responsible for creative marketing thinking? I mean, to me, digital is all part of all that, but who's responsible for very creative marketing thinking? And the third is, how do you see competition? Because today, it's no longer traditional competition, but competition could come from anywhere. So what are you doing? How are you identifying it? How do you keep abreast of trends? What is it that you're doing to stay ahead of the game? So in no particular sequence, I'll just throw it open to the panel.
Raghu, your first question is how do we address the pain points of customers?
And enhance customer experience.
And enhance the customer experience. Firstly, to me, traditional retail is long-lived, and it will continue to exist and progress far beyond e-commerce penetrating into the marketplace. Only because, firstly, taking a product category like jewelry is largely bought by women of all age groups. And after a certain price point, say beyond a lakh of rupees, people want to experience touch and feel. Okay? In order to address a pain point of touch and feel, jewelry companies as well as retail companies must have a consultative approach. That consultative approach of customer experience starts from the time they enter the store. People actually greeting and meeting them and probing and asking questions. Today, I think the biggest downfall in our country is people, the biggest opportunity loss for retail in India is that people behind the counter do not actually probe and ask questions. They are only answering questions that the customer asks them. And knowing how customers are, forget millennials. Everyone, take an economy like Bangalore. It's such a vibrant, diverse, intelligent, intellectual society where people research on mobiles, people compare prices, people do so much of searching, deep searching as to what they want, and they are very clear about what they need. So the one way to address this pain point is actually invest a lot in training. Mm-hmm. One is training on customer service, one is training on product, one is actually training on how to address customer needs, basic pleasantries, what are the do's and don'ts inside a store. These basic needs of a customer have to be met through training. And people who are behind the counter, then have to get into a deep consultative mode to actually identify what the customer needs. You know, although we run a business, our main job is also to sell. You know, we have all forms of customers, be it high net worth individuals, whether it's you know, the biggest names, and today you cannot actually judge a customer by the way they dress up and the way they appear. And 9 out of 10 times I've realized deep probing leads to upselling of more than 10 times. So when you're able to build that relationship and having deep conversations, it leads to better fructifications of sales. And a category like this requires something like that. And the biggest pain point today is people behind the counter are not able to probe and understand customer requirements, and training is the fundamental requirement for retailers.
Well, just on that, let me add an anecdote. A few years back, I was dealing with one of the largest silk sari retailers in the country, from Chennai. And in his store, he had everything from a 250 rupee sari right down to a 200,000 rupee sari. And I asked him, I said, I understand. Why do you have the 250 or 200 rupee sari? He said, no, actually, you don't understand. He said, they will be probably your maid or some domestic help or people like that who will come and buy. They can afford only that. But when there's a wedding in the family, they'll buy for 20,000 rupees. And he said, my idea is to tie them in at every occasion in life. And very deep insight as to how they serve their customers, you know, to sort of reinforce the point you're making. Manu, any thoughts on this? Sure.
See, as he said, the relationship between the owner of the store and the staff must be a family. And the customer must be made to feel at home when they come into the shopping. That's the only way, you know, you really can make this happen. And as everybody said, retailing, brick and mortar shops will continue. Digital will definitely probe into it. And things have to keep changing to the requirements, and both will go parallel together.
Yeah. Sorry, you had something?
Yeah, so one of the pain points that we had observed in our business is, we're a suit selling store. So it took 1.5 hours for actually somebody to, select a suit. So we said, and most of the being men, they don't like to spend that much of time in buying a suit. So we said, how do we reduce this? And like Ganesh was saying, we'll always probe the customer. We'll ask him, why does he want to buy a suit? Is it for marriage? Is it for business and stuff like that? So he used a list of questions. So what we started doing was, we gave a tab. We started recording this thought process of a customer. We started analyzing what size he would bought. So the next time when he came in, we don't have to ask him the same set of questions. So if he said business wear, we knew what his size was, what he wore last time, and stuff like that. So we are bringing in technology to reduce the time being spent by a customer in our store to buy a suit. So similarly, we are using this tab thing to give him a better experience of what else that he can buy on this. So I think, you take small steps like this and make sure that the customer gets a better experience in your store. It'll go a long way in building a relationship, like Mr. Gopal was saying.
There is a concept called clienteling. It was first adopted by this company called Saks on Fifth Avenue. And Saks has a big number of loyal clients because the store has been in existence for a long time. And this whole process of clienteling works very well, where Saks has invested in a technology where as soon as a customer walks in, they carry some kind of a card which recognizes that they have entered the store. So as soon as they enter the store, all the screens have identified that this particular customer has walked in. And when the customer has walked in, it also lists down all the purchases made by that customer in the last 6 months and in the last 18 months, so that whenever a relationship manager or a salesperson moves towards the customer, they're able to proactively suggest what products that the customer can buy within the store and actually enable a lot of upselling. And tools like this within the store will enable so much of cross-selling and upselling that actually gives satisfaction. Today, as soon as you enter, take for example in India, when you walk into an Oberoi hotel, especially the Oberoi brand of hotels, they're able to recognize you by name. They're able to understand what kind of preferences you have as far as your dietary requirements, your food, your drink. And when that kind of personalized attention is given, I mean, it's very natural that you will always go back and shop or dine at a particular place.
Well, Raghu, I think your question was about how do you enhance customer experience,
Right.
and how do you
in the
also
store, yeah.
take note of what your competition is doing. I think those
Yeah.
were two of your three questions. I don't remember the third question.
The third was on who in your organization is responsible for creative marketing, it's the thinking.
Okay, okay. I think the thinking, it starts from the boss. It's an ongoing process. Even as you are sleeping, eating, always what next? At least for me, that's the way it happens. And see, in Sangeeta, what we do is, let me be very honest, the last 2 years have been very tough. Because as you all know, online was very, very aggressive. E-commerce companies burnt a lot of money on throwing money and acquiring customers. And I'm sure most of you sitting here would have made note of the fact that one of the biggest contributors to the top line of online companies was the mobile phone. So therefore, by virtue of being a mobile phone retailer, we are default the most affected. So for the first time, Sangeeta's growth did not happen in the last 2 years. So we had to come out with something, I had to disrupt. In fact, last year on the same forum, I remember that I announced that we have just announced a price drop protection. That was November 25th we announced that. And today we are just crossed 12 months. So, okay, what is price drop protection? See, mobile phone as a category, we all know that almost every day there's a price drop happening on some model or the other. There is a new model getting launched and the old model price keeps falling. So we took the big risk or gamble, and again, it was my idea. Others could not have taken such a big call. So we said, any phone, any customer buys any mobile phone, any smartphone in Sangeeta, for the next 30 days, he is protected against a price drop. Unlike what we see many of the other advertisements, like, if anybody gives you cheaper than me, I will give you 1:3. That is not what I am talking. What I am talking is, next 30 days, I protect the customer against a price drop that a Samsung or a Sony or a Oppo or a Vivo or any brand for that matter drops. So we took this big risk, and unlike, and how does it happen? In this industry, we get price protection from the brands only for the phones that are lying on my shelf which are not activated. With the help of technology, just for the benefit of everybody here, the IMEI number, every phone comes with an IMEI number which is very unique. So the minute you put the SIM and make the first call, it gets activated, and the brands, every brand, even the smallest of the brand, have got their systems in place to track which retailer in the country or which distributor in the country has what stock of which model, how many unactivated IMEI numbers are there. So nobody can fool around. So that is one side. So what am I trying to say? In Sangeeta, we came up with this risk-taking thought, and we have been doing it very successfully. So if you buy a phone, if there were to be a price drop, we will send you a unique code, a 4-digit unique code through an SMS, and we will ask you to come back and take that money in kind. So in this process, in fact, initially, we were not seeing many customers coming back, probably because they are not seeing the SMSs nowadays. So we even started the concept of calling back to the customers. If they did not respond to the SMS, if they did not come back, all the store managers were given a target that whenever there is a price drop, for example, Samsung Galaxy J7 Prime, just 3 days back, there was a price drop of 1,850 rupees. So all the 3,000 and odd customers, or I don't remember right now because it's so much of an auto mode it's going. It doesn't even need my consent or approval. So everything is refunded. Refunded not in cash because of logistical reasons. So in fact, we are just short of almost 3 crore 72 lakhs is the refund that we have done in the last 12.5 months as of December 2nd. I don't have the latest update. So this is a big risk we are taking. We know it's a big risk, but probably everybody can't do that because of the scale that we are in, because we sell more than almost more than a lakh of phones every month. We are able to do that. So that's a sort of a disruptor, and we have been doing it for more than a year, and nobody has been able to copy it. So if I have addressed your point of how can you create an experience to the customer, or how can you create a stickiness. So with this, what are we doing? The customer, he's your permanent customer for life. Because when you least expect, you have bought, you're done with, after 20 days, you get a call from Sangeeta saying, "Hi Raghu, please come and take your 2,000 bucks."
Yeah, sure. So Manu, I want to ask you in the context of Soch, how, because I mean your stores are very successful and they're not that big and they're quite crowded. How do you look at customer experience? How do you enhance customer experience? And how does that translate into the store, and how your store team treats customers?
I think the biggest thing for us, for customer experience, is training our staff. Our staff has to know exactly what they're selling, what are the qualities of the fabric, how to wash it, how to treat this garment. And the other thing in the experience is alterations. It's surprising that even today, a lot of stores don't do alterations. We have each and every one of our stores has a tailor. We do the alterations on the spot. And if it's a Saturday evening, there are too many alterations, we deliver it to his house the next day, absolutely free of cost. And the other pain point which we've been able to solve for a lot of customers is that we sell a lot of unstitched salwar kameez. So we have tailors who will take the measurements and do a custom tailoring job. And this is a huge relief for the customer, because you have to go to some small store in Dispensary Road and park your car and go back there. It's a huge pain. So this pain we've been able to solve for a lot of customers.
Okay, and tell me, in the context of a big basket, because end of the day, your final touch point is your delivery people. You don't see them, right? Your customers for the most part. So how are you looking at the whole qualitative customer experience and how to enhance it? I mean, partly you've said through the pain points, through availability, right product, right quality, but beyond that, is there anything else?
Yeah, two things. One is, the biggest pain point at the time of delivery is the customer may not like the product. Mm-hmm. Okay, and if the customer may not like the product, and if, let us say, the delivery guy says, I have to take somebody's permission, or I have to call my call center, or you call up the customer service, and which is what is done in most other e-commerce retailers, you call up the call center and take their this thing, then we will take it back. Okay, that is the biggest irritation. And particularly in a grocery purchase, where customer buys about 30-40 items, it's invariable that customer may not like one product. And for that one product, which is of a small value, he doesn't want to waste his time. So what we have done is actually we have, we have provided technology in terms of a handle to our delivery boy, so that he exactly records what the customer is returning back and why he is returning back. Second thing is actually we have empowered the delivery people to say if the customer returns, you just take it back. There is no discussion or no argument about it. So we have removed that entire process, which is followed by other e-commerce retailers, where someone takes somebody's permission, or calls up somewhere, or you will have to call up and book a call, this thing for taking a refund back. We have removed that entire process. So this has helped in terms of, one, that entire irritation and pain point which the customer has removed. And second, even the delivery boys actually spend lots of time in actually checking, is it right, is it wrong, and all that. That time spent is basically saved, both for the delivery boy as well as for the organization, because he doesn't need to spend time, he doesn't need to get irritated, or he doesn't need to see whether it is right or wrong. He just takes back the product, and then he records as to what is the reason. So if there is some torn packet, or if there is expiry or anything, he just puts that reason on this thing. Then when we come back, we reconcile as to whether the reason is the same or not. And if this is the reason, what do we do? Whether we have to write it off, or whether we can return it back to the vendor, or can we actually use it in our warehouse and supply it again, because the product has no defect but the customer doesn't want it.
Okay, so I have one final set of questions, and then we'll throw it open to the floor if anyone has questions. It's really what's the process you have of identifying your customer of tomorrow? How are you planning to address their needs? And by implication, are you and is your organization future ready? So who's the customer of tomorrow? How are you planning to address their needs? Have you identified them? What's the process? And then is your organization ready to support that process? So in any order.
Yeah, so basically what we have a lot of interns coming and working with us time and again. So we use these college interns to take a feedback from the customers in and around our stores, people who have bought from our stores, as well as people who have not bought from our stores, but majority of the people who have bought from our stores. So thereby, we know exactly what the customer requirements are, and how, even if he didn't buy, why he didn't buy and stuff like that. That's one part. The other part is we actually hire a marketing agency, and there's a marketing agency called Hansa Marketing that we work with regularly. They do a market survey. For example, if you want to do market survey on suits, if you want to do a certain market survey on certain prime customer, premium customers. So we get them to do these market surveys. So based on the market survey that we get, we bring in our ad agency and stuff, and we work out strategies for these customers, and we try to build more on them. And these are the basic two ways that we adopt right now. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
The customer of tomorrow is someone who's very well educated, well researched, well traveled, knows what design is all about, also understands what suits them personally, and are able to internally decide what kind of product they're going to buy. And the customer of tomorrow is also constantly checking on what alternatives are available outside of his comfort zone, that is the place of where he resides, and also online. And there is this new term that I just encountered called digital natives. The people who are only exposed to the internet age. They are spending more time doing all kinds of research on online and on their mobiles, and they're able to clearly understand what exactly is available and how they're able to get full value for the money that they are spending on products. So to me, that is the customer. And what organizations like us and other retailers really need to do to address is they shouldn't get into a stage of complacency, because every time they realize that they've reached a level of accomplishing their goals to address customer needs, there are a whole bunch of e-commerce guys and new age retailers who are already taken off. And just for example, you see some of the biggest hotel brands have such beautiful hotels, and then you have this new age Airbnb which comes out of nowhere and actually uses assets of someone else and creates a business model out of it. So that level of disruption is definitely going to happen. The real innovation will actually happen in design, will actually happen in product. See, from a category like jewelry, jewelry has to become more utilitarian, more versatile, more value for money. So people have to get more value for money, because this is a commodity which actually rises in price in the long term. So ways and means have to be researched, and technology has to be used to find ways and means to manufacture jewelry in a lighter way, and using settings where jewelry looks larger than what it actually appears to be. So these are some of the innovations that companies like us do.
That's interesting. Yeah. What about?
I think being in the food industry, from the day the baby is born till they go permanent sleep, the elders continue to be my clients and customers, So it's a quality what we give them is going to keep my customers coming back to me.
Okay.
Fortunately, being in mobile, and mobile is one of the largest consumed product category now. So we believe, in spite of the e-commerce or whatever, and especially now, there is sanity is prevailing amongst the e-commerce players. They are no longer discounting, etc. And the other brands like Motorola, MI, Asus, etc., which went online only, are no longer online only. They are all available at brick and mortar stores. So today in our space, right now what we are really focusing on, while all others that are being talked about here with regards to training, with regards to analytics, with regards to customer behavior, everything else is important. But what we are actually driving with all the vigor is expanding our reach. Today, we have 300 plus stores in South India, and we believe we can double the count in South India itself. And that is because, I can give you some examples. On the way to Bangalore to Mysore, we are there in Ramnagar, Channapatna, Maddur, Mandya, and Mysore. Ramnagar, we had a store about 6-7 year old. And recently, our guys came up with option right opposite to the store, on the other side of the road. I said, isn't it foolish? They said, no, this store is really good and it's a better frontage and all that. I said, okay, let's open it and maybe after some time we'll close this. But then to my surprise, both are doing well. It's more than a year now. And exactly the same thing, incidentally, exactly the same thing happened in Channapatna. And at Channapatna, the road even becomes narrower. At least at Ramnagar, the road is broader. So to cross the road is difficult. So you could say, therefore, the customer on this side is different, the customer on that side is different. But in Channapatna, the road is also narrow. But we have two stores right opposite to each other. So therefore, there is so much of consumption happening in the mobile space. So therefore, the ambition of the company is to grow faster, very fast, and therefore go the franchisee route, so far which we have desisted from. And we have come up with a very unique franchisee model, if I may use 1 minute to talk about it. We want to give away our existing profit-making stores. We want to franchise out. And not just that, we want to manage it, run it 100%. And only on the increased productivity, we share the margin with the franchisee.
Okay.
So that's the model which nobody else has come out with. In fact, I have been talking to several people. Not that we have signed even one, but whomever I have been talking, everybody has been saying this is too good to believe. And we are giving them a fixed, assured monthly guarantee money.
Okay. Yeah, Manu. Yeah.
At Soch, we believe that the fashion is changing, and as a company policy, in the last 5 years, we've deliberately reduced our percentage of sale of saris, because less and less people are wearing saris. It's becoming more and more of just an occasional wear. And even for occasions, a lot of youngsters are not wearing saris anymore. So this is how we adapt to the changing times and to cater more and more for the youth. Even our design sensibilities and designing is changing very rapidly to target more and more of the youth.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Actually, when we look at customer of tomorrow, I think one thing which I think each organization has to keep in mind is that customer of tomorrow is extremely unlike the customer of today. So if we keep this as a rule, and then we start seeing as to how the customer can be different, I think it will expose us to a new customer, and it will also make us ready to actually take our whatever could be the challenge. I'll just give you a simple example. So in Big Basket, actually we are founded on the basis of a shopping behavior of a customer. The shopping behavior which I am talking about is one, customer shops for all grocery products together. Okay, they don't shop separately a soap and they don't shop separately an oil and they don't shop separately a salt. And the second one is customers plan for this shopping. So they plan in advance and maybe they shop once a month, some people shop twice a month, some people shop 4 times a month. But they still plan and they shop for all those products together in that period of time. So based on that, we had founded this business where we are saying it breaks even when the customer keeps buying, in a planned manner, the complete range of products. So a typical customer buys about 25 to 30 products at a time. But if we have to actually look at, what would be the customer of tomorrow, maybe I think we should first make the assumption customer will not buy all these products together and customer will not plan. Then what would be the way by which he will buy and how will I actually ensure that I will still break even at in that model. Okay, so, if we continuously keep looking at it in this way and then if we start building, or testing the hypothesis and building our own, variants in the business on the basis of that, I think we will be able to, we'll be more prepared for the customers of tomorrow.
Okay, that's good. So now we have a few minutes. If anyone has questions, yeah, go ahead, please. If you can sort of, any particular person you want to address it to?
Hello. Hi. I have 2 questions. First to Mr. Chandra. You mentioned that you have 2 stores across each other and they both are doing well. Someone else in the panel in the morning said the same thing, that there were 2 hypermarkets or max stores which span like within 5 kilometers. So my question to you is, what is happening? Are people buying more? Is the per capita expenditure increase is leading for people to buy more, or is the volume, is the unit volume sales increasing? What is happening? Like, if it's not getting diverted from one store to another, then what is happening?
Well, see, the category is a high consumption category. Having said that, to answer your question specifically, volumes are not going up. In fact, volumes have come down if you compare to a few years ago, but values are going up.
Okay.
Ultimately, as a businessman, you look at the value. So what was my average sale price of a mobile phone a few years ago versus what is it now? And the scope to further go up is a lot more.
So your store-to-store increase, what you're saying on a year-on-year basis, is completely based on value. It's not volume at all.
If I start looking at volume, then I cannot expand.
Fair enough. Okay. My next question is to Mr. Seshu Kumar. I had a session in the morning and I spoke about how online grocery retailing is, as a channel, it has garnered a lot of attention. It's despite the fact that none of the companies, both globally and in India, are making profits yet. So considering online retail in general is one of those industries where no one is making profits. I mean, in terms of, your gross merchandising revenue, there's money, but there's no profits. So how do you, what I'm trying to ask is, what is the sustainability of this kind of a business model? Do you think it'll last in the next couple of years? I mean, how are we going to do, what are the retailers planning to do to get out of this? Thank you.
I think my guess will be as good as yours. Okay. But I think, what we have to remember is that any business, actually, when it starts, it goes through a cycle where, first it starts in a small way, then it catches speed. When a number of competitors come, and maybe it takes a generation of time, which is, let us say, about 30 years or 40 years, when it actually settles down to few models which are profitable. So I think today it is still in that stage where a number of competitors are entering with a number of models, and we don't know which one will be absolutely successful after 25, 30 years. And I think that... No, every business has gone through that. So 100 years back, when a car started, do you think Ford has made money from the day one when he started his car? He drove his car, collected money and drove the next car. It doesn't happen like that, no? It took about 30, 40 years of time for Ford and General Motors to become big. I believe only at around the time of Second World War, they actually became large companies. So I think it will go through the same process.
I was asking one of the e-commerce players, what is the situation? And he put it very shortly, the position is tight, but the future is bright.
Yeah, I guess so. It's what they say about retail, right? Next month, sales will be better. And forever, next month, sales will be better. Yeah, okay. Anybody else has a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rajneesh. A lot of technology that we discussed, to my mind, doesn't look like disruptive. It only brings efficiency. Because there was a catalog business, people were emailing or physically postal mailing the catalogs, customer was choosing the product, placing an order. Now it is converted into an e-commerce. We were making calls. Earlier I was booking my seat on an airplane by calling the airlines. Now I can do it web check-in. So it's an improvement in efficiency. Similarly, e-commerce business is an efficiency improvement to my mind from the catalog business, which existed for so many years. Are we confusing efficiency improvement with disruption so far, or are we overreacting to this? Anybody from the panel can.
I think the huge difference between catalog and e-commerce was, catalog was not so heavily discounted, and it was a very, very, very small percentage of the overall market, probably 0.1%. The e-commerce is huge, huge. And they have very, very deep pockets. They can discount. And what the brick and mortar is worried about is how do you compete with somebody who's willing to lose money?
Well, let me also add, I think the other issue is, I think one of sheer convenience. I think the main disruption has been in convenience. As a customer, I want a good or a service when I want it, where I want it, how I want it. And I think that's fundamentally changed to how traditionally people would buy any product or service. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, sure, sure.
If you look at discounting, when brick and mortar or the organized retail started, if you remember, Mr. Biani came out with Sabse Bada Din, I think sales day. Now it is a week. It was one day, 15th August, then it became 14, 15, now it's a week. He was the first one to come out with bring anything from your house, papers, tires, sanitary broken, and I will give you something in exchange. But when brick and mortar organized retail came in, they also did the same to acquire customer. They gave discount. Yesterday in one of the malls in Bombay, there's a fashion brand who gave 60% discount. Their gross margin is only 32%, and they gave 60% discount. So it is not a strategy adopted by online. Why are we calling it disruptive? It is a customer acquisition strategy. It has been there for so many years. Why are we reacting so much as brick and mortar retailers? I don't understand that.
No, actually, I completely agree with you. What is called disruption today is the fact that you're enhancing convenience. And whatever discounts that are being offered earlier on catalogs or otherwise is being today offered. So honestly, there's nothing different, which is why I started with saying that, disruption in whatever, it's largely temporary. If you look at a major disruption, nobody can do a price discounting for 2 years. At best, the stretch has gone, and I think Flipkart has done it for about 2 years. But post that, you have to come up with something new. So the point that I agree with you that is, because there's no other word, we're using the word disruption. But the fact of the matter is, if you are continuously innovating, at some point of time, it's going to reach that disruption stage. So the same catalog company would have gone online. Somebody would have seen them online. He's saying, yeah, this guy's only done so much. Let me do bigger than that. And then somebody else would come and say, hey, Flipkart is here. Before Amazon comes in, I'll grow faster than Amazon. So they're basing their decisions based on what somebody else has done. So I don't think we should follow that strategy. As retailers, we should think through what the benefits for your own company, and then do it, not because somebody else is doing it. So I agree with you.
Sorry, if I can just add, I'll tell you why, Rajneesh. I think some of it is definitely disruption, some is innovation. If you look at what Amazon have done when they started, they've disrupted book retailing. It's not a question of discounting. I think book retailing is pretty much gone. If you look at what Uber have done, they've disrupted the normal taxi service. So that's a major disruption. Airbnb, they're disrupting the hospitality business. Those are significant disruption. And yeah, part of it may be discounting, part of it you may call it customer acquisition, but they've changed the rules of the game. So it was in that context that we were trying to find out, are those examples relevant to us and what each one of them is doing? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Rajneesh, certainly Sangeeta doesn't fall into anywhere near that category. of retailer that you took as an example, and we never believe in discounting. I would like to call myself a disruptor, and I'm sure price drop protection, nobody else in the world has ever done it, and we have not stopped it there. We have come out with price drop or you drop. You drop the phone, that is also protected. That is, I mean, protected meaning I give you a new phone at half the price. No questions asked. It's not insurance. I launched insurance in the country on mobile phone way back in 1997. Sangeeta is the pioneer of mobile phone insurance. Then later on, so 100 other companies or more than 100 other companies started doing it. We have moved on from there, and today it's 100% in-house. So then we have launched try and buy. So you buy a phone, you don't like it, within 30 days you can come back and give it. We offer you 80%. And those phones, we sell it off to second-hand dealers. But then all these are sounding or bordering on the stupidity, you might say. As a businessman, does it make sense to do all these things? But then these are things that I want to do rather than being classified as stupid, offering 60% where the retailer is making 32%. First of all, I'm not in that business where we make such huge margins. And secondly, we believe this is the way I can make the customer and his next generation stick with Sangeeta.
Yeah,
yeah, when we do an innovation which actually improves customers' efficiency, then it becomes disruption. Okay, when it improves our own efficiency, then it's efficiency is a part of the game.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much. I want to thank the panel for a very lively and interesting discussion. Thank you.